Hey guys, welcome. I was going through your essays and your theses and outlines, and a lot of you were having some questions about the right way to, in the right order to do things, and what exactly is a thesis. So I wanted to go over a few things. How to form a thesis is one. And then secondly, why we form a thesis before an outline. Let's jump right in. I have an example of a student's thesis that they sent me. Let's go through these. And I'll just kind of edit this. Okay, so when we're coming up with a thesis, the thesis is the first stage. Some of you are going to want to write a draft before you come up with a thesis. I think that's a good exercise. It helps you get your thoughts out, but that's really only an exercise. It's not really writing a rough draft. Let's begin with the thesis. So if you don't know what your thesis is and you're having a hard time trying to figure out what exactly do I want to write about in Anthem, then that's where writing that first draft can come in handy. It can help you get your thoughts out on paper. It can help you narrow down what you want to write about. And in that sense, writing that rough draft first can help. But let's say you already have a good idea of what you want to write about. The thesis that they wrote was, in Anthem, the main character, Equality, lived in a collective society. No one was allowed to do things as they wished, and all the activities were done in groups. Individualism in every person is very important because everyone has their own ideas, feelings, and values in life. Okay, so there are some really good things about this thesis that they gave, and some things that we want to fix. Okay, first of all, the student is right in that the thesis will be part of the introduction. So it makes logical sense to put the thesis here in the outline. However, when you turn in your outline, it's not going to have anything to do with introduction, body, and paragraph, or conclusion. Your outline will actually be only concerned with the body of your paper. So let's just break this down. Okay, so now we have our thesis. And we'll get to the outline in a minute. So let's just put that down here. Let's just organize this a little differently. Okay. Now we have our thesis and our outline. When you write your paper, this right here is very much like what I want for your format with a few minor changes. Your name, student name, my name with a space, the class, and then the dates. That's all correct. Even this date format is correct. It needs to be day, month, year in that order. You don't have to put 08, but you can. That doesn't make a difference. So that's good. It's double spaced, right on. We have an extra space here so that we can differentiate between this information and the beginning of the paper of your work. So obviously the essay portion will be down below, but as far as what you turn in when you turn in your essay paper, this is where it begins with the thesis. So we want to differentiate between thesis and your personal information. So I'll put a space here. Then we have on the header. Notice this student also did this correctly. The page number is here, but it's not in the actual paper. See, if we come up to this space, we can't go any higher, and they correctly put the page number in the header. So to do that, you double click in the header area. See how it says header? Clicking insert, page number, and then this top left option. So the reason we don't want to type number 1, let's do that just for the fun of it. So let's say you're starting from scratch, your paper will look like this, and you type in this information, you double click on the header, it's going to put this marker on the left. You need to go to the right, Control-Shift-R or Command-Shift-R for Mac. Click on that, it'll put it to the right alignment. And if you type a number 1 for the page number, then this page number will have a number 1, but so will every other page. See? Page number 2 will say number 1, and that's a problem. It needs to have the correct numbers on the pages. So the way we fix that is by inserting a command for the page numbers. Now, there are 4 options. We want the one in the header at the top, not the footer at the bottom. So don't click these bottom ones, pick the ones at the top. And then we want a page number on the first page. So click this one. This one here has no page number on the first page. So we are, in our English class, we're working with Amlit format. Choose this option to set the page number, and that's what this student did. So great. Now we have our page number. You need to put your last name. Well, that's mine. In this case, Doe is the last name of our fake student. So last name, Doe, and then the page number. Notice now every header will have whatever you type, so the last name and the correct page number. So now that that's set up, we've got the last name, page number in the header. This information is all correct. Space, and then our thesis. This is a correction we've made so far now, so what was turned in. And then her thesis. So now let's talk about what exactly her thesis is. I'll make a few points. Number one, let's do this. A thesis is one statement. So if we read this again, there are, I think, three. In Anthem, the main character equality lived in a collective society. That's one. No one was allowed to do the things as they wished, and all the activities were done in groups. That's two. And then the third sentence, individualism in every person is very important because everyone has their own ideas, feelings, and values in life. So there are three sentences here, which means this whole thing is not a thesis statement. We want a thesis statement, not thesis statements, singular. We want it only singular. So if we read this again, the last sentence is actually a really well done thesis. Individualism in every person is very important because everyone has their own ideas, feelings, and values in life. What makes this thesis statement good? Number one, it's short and succinct. It's not long. It's really straight to the point. It's very concise. It's a good thesis statement in that sense. So if we keep this as our thesis statement, that's a really good start. Individualism in every person is very important because everyone has their own ideas, feelings, and value in life. Now, a thesis statement, if you were to break down your paper after it's written, the very singular point that your whole paper revolves around, that would be your thesis statement. So if you could boil down your whole paper into a single sentence, that should be your thesis. So that's important because your thesis statement, by coming up with it first, is going to drive your paper. In fact, it's going to drive your outline and your paper. So it needs to be to the point. It needs to be to the point of your paper. And this one does that. However, our essay is about Anthem the book, and this thesis doesn't mention Anthem. We might say something like this. In Ayn Rand's Anthem, individualism in every person is very important because everyone has their own ideas, feelings, and values in life. So now we're off to a better start because we've clarified what book we're talking about when we speak about individualism. Are we talking about Anthem, or are you talking about Hunger Games? Obviously, we're talking about Anthem, so we should clarify that. So next, in order to make it even better, let's see if we can make it more concise by eliminating words. And this, at this point, is going to be preference for the student. And you'll get better with it as you go along. But just evaluate on a word-by-word basis. Do I need this word? Obviously, you do, because your paper is going to be about individualism, and you need to name that. So that is a key word. But is every person? Well, maybe, maybe not. We could say individualism is very important because everyone, right? So if we leave this, every person is kind of redundant because we have everyone here. So every person is not necessary. So we eliminate it. Individualism is very important because everyone has their own ideas, feelings, and values in life. So now it's a little bit more concise. It's a little bit more straight to the point. It's not wordy, and that's a good thing. The thesis needs to give a preview of the outline. And this student's thesis did that really well. They said individualism is important because everyone has three things: their own ideas, their own feelings, and their own values in life. Once we have a good thesis like this, it should give us a sense of what our outline is going to be. So let's come down here. We're going to save this. Your outline needs to have at least 2 main points. So that would be at least 2 Roman numerals. They always start with Roman numerals 1 and 2. And again, like we said before, your introduction is a given. So we're talking about how you're going to organize, that's an outline, how you're going to organize what order you're going to talk about things in the body of your paper. So we already understand that your introduction is going to be there. Your introduction is going to be first. It'll include your thesis, because that's part of introducing your paper, is telling what it's about, and the thesis is the most succinct, direct way of telling what your paper is about. Then after the introduction, we have the body of your paper, and your outline is only concerned with the body of your paper. So if your first point is here and the second point, how many points are you going to have? Are you going to have 3 points? Are you going to have 2? Are you going to have 4 or 5? It depends on how big your paper needs to be. Our papers are between 400 and 500 words, so I don't think you'll need as many as 4 points. You could have 4, you could have 3. You are required to have at least 2, though. So you need to have at least 2. If we look at our thesis, remember our thesis should preview what our outline will be. There are 3 really clear main points in this student's excellent thesis. Individualism is very important because everyone has, number 1, their own ideas. Number 2, their own feelings. And number 3, their own values in life. So we can just start inputting those here. Ideas, feelings, values in life.
All right, so just to review, we have 4 essay writing stages. Number 1 is the thesis, your main point of the paper. It's the central point. If you could boil your whole paper down to 1 sentence, it should be your thesis. Where you place your thesis is important. Your outline begins with the body of your paper, and when you turn in your thesis and outline, it needs to have your thesis above the outline, and that's because your thesis should be the last sentence in your introduction. When you write an introduction, what you should be doing is taking all the broad ideas and gathering them, connecting them, and funneling them down to 1 point at the bottom. That's your thesis statement. I always picture it as a funnel, and your thesis should be that last sentence that clearly places all of the main ideas in a single sentence and directs the reader's thoughts to the main portion. After you write your thesis is the outline. The outline is the organization and logical path that your paper will take. In other words, when you give me an outline and then I read your essay, I need to see those points in your outline show up in the same order in your essay. That's why it's a logical progression. After you have your outline, you're going to write your rough draft. The final draft is when you edits and adjustments to your rough draft and turn in the rough draft into a final draft. So the final draft is not a new version. It is definitely an old version that you made better. And that's the difference between a rough draft and a final draft. So again, if you feel like it, if this is how you think, then you can word dump your thoughts into a draft that you write before you do the thesis, if that's how you process. If you write a rough draft first, then do your thesis after that. Get your main point down, then rewrite your outline, then pull from that rough draft and create a new rough draft. I would not edit your first rough draft after you did the thesis and outline if you wrote that first rough draft before you did the thesis and outline, because the rough draft needs to follow the outline, not what you think will be the outline in the future. Qualities of a good thesis, as far as review: 1 single sentence. Thesis should only be a single sentence. Don't turn it into a paragraph. Secondly, it should be short and succinct. And then thirdly, the thesis must preview the outline. I hope that helps you guys. Thank you for your hard work. Your papers are looking good. I'm enjoying grading your papers. Don't let coronavirus get you. Stay safe, wear masks, wear gloves, wash your hands. I hope you are doing well, and let me know if I can do anything else to help.